Hey, I'm Matthew from Living Tesla. This is our 2020 Model Y that we got last June, so we've had it for about 6 months now. We put about 4,000 miles on it, and here's how things are going. So let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. Initial quality was a problem for me, just like it has been for a lot of people. I actually came very close to rejecting delivery based on several of the things, but I've had good experiences with Tesla service in the past, so I gave them a chance to make it right. And they did, for the most part, but I'm still not 100% satisfied. So on the exterior, I had several significant paint defects. There was also a warped hood and multiple panel alignment issues. It took a few service visits to get them all fixed, but eventually they did resolve them. A couple months after the other alignment issues were fixed, we started having trouble with our rear hatch. It started with kind of a rubbing noise when it would open, and that eventually turned into kind of a popping sound when it would open. So that was yet another service visit to get that one fixed. The one outstanding thing though is wind noise. Now Teslas aren't known for being the quietest cars, so I wasn't expecting perfection, but I was hoping that it would be a little quieter than our Model 3, and it's definitely not. In particular, this car has a little bit of a whistle, and it's just at one of those frequencies that our hearing is more sensitive to, so it's kind of annoying. And there's no doubt it's difficult to find. Service spent about half a day working on it, and they eventually said it's in spec. And I don't really like that answer. I know that it's not a normal thing based on other Teslas that I've ridden in, and I would really like to get it fixed. But it is difficult. I've tried to find it myself by putting tape on different seams and different areas of the car, and I just haven't quite found it yet. But I have no doubt if I can ever nail down exactly what is causing it, Tesla will make it right and fix it. It's just going to be difficult to find. Thankfully, things have been better on the interior. We did have an annoying kind of fabric rubbing sound between the rear seats, and Tesla fixed that by changing out that fabric with what I assume comes in the newer cars. I also had the same rattle in this seatbelt adjuster that we had in our Model 3. So I just fixed that one myself, and I made a little video about it if you have the same issue. So other than the wind noise, Tesla's taken care of things, and it's been a solid car. But those service issues definitely were more of a hassle this time than they were with the Model 3. See, at least at my service center, they used to do things like valet your car for you, or at least give you a loaner when you dropped it off. And that's pretty much all gone now. We just get Uber credits, and you just have to figure things out. So these kind of initial teething service issues are much more of a hassle now than they used to be. So on to user experience. The Model Y is a nice car. It's comfortable, the seats have bolsters in the right places, they're not too firm, they're not too soft, they have good adjustability, and they have memory settings that you can set for different drivers, and depending on whose phone or key unlocks the car, it goes into that position. So it works well for multiple drivers. The rear seats are roomy, they can recline a little bit to make it more comfortable for longer trips, they have good foot room. We just really haven't had any complaints from any passengers that have ridden with us, which have been only a few this year. We've definitely gotten some compliments from them though about the view out of the back seat. The glass roof really is a standout feature of this car. It gives you extra headroom in the front and back, and it just makes it feel really spacious. We've really appreciated the powered open and close hatch, and the easy fold down rear seats. It just makes it really easy to load cargo in the back of the Model Y. Of course, one thing that everybody pays attention to in Teslas is the big center screen. We just got a new user interface over the holidays, and honestly, I don't really like the changes that they made. I mean, they're not all bad, but I just think overall it doesn't look as polished as it used to look. They really need to do some work on the icons and the sizing, and just make it look as aesthetic as it used to look. But there's hope for that, it's just a software update away. Still, it's perfectly usable and perfectly functional for me. I've been driving a Model 3 for several years now, so I'm totally used to having everything on the screen. The speedometer over to the side of the driver doesn't bother me at all. I've never been one to watch my speed that much. I just kind of drive conservatively. So it just doesn't bother me, but you know, maybe that's different for some people, and that speedometer to the side really bugs them. With the new user interface, they did move it back over to the left a little bit, but to me it really doesn't make much of a difference. I think the biggest adjustment for me was driving at night. It takes some getting used to not having that center instrument cluster right in front of the driver and the light that shines on you from it. But now that I've gotten used to it, I kind of prefer the way it is in the Model 3 and Model Y. Another unique thing is the car doesn't really have any physical buttons. You have these controls on the steering wheel that control volume and forward and back on your music, and one over here to control your cruise control speed and your following distance. But that's pretty much it for your normal driving controls. So since everything's on the screen, in some cases it takes an extra couple seconds to do whatever it is you wanted to do. For the most part, I don't mind that. It's pretty rare that I run into that. But one area where I do mind it is opening our garage door. My Model 3 has HomeLink, so we programmed that to the garage door and it can automatically open and close the door when you come and go. But I've actually ended up turning that off because with 2 cars in the family, there were just too many circumstances where we arrived, we left near each other, and one of us opened or closed the garage door when we didn't mean to. So I just do it manually now, but that means I have to look at the screen and tap a button on the screen. Where with the Model Y, I just double-sided taped our remote to the back of the screen. It's out of sight, it's out of the way, and I can just reach down without even looking and push the button. I kind of like it better. Another personal favorite thing is the parking experience. This car is the easiest car I've ever owned to back into a parking spot. We have 3 cameras that come up on the big display and this really cool kind of aura of parking sensors that shows around the car. If you have full self-driving, you also can use auto park to parallel park and perpendicular park. But personally, I don't use it. I find that it's much slower than I am, and I've seen too many photos and videos of curved wheels. So just not for me, at least not yet. For entertainment, we have several options with Slacker and TuneIn and Spotify. You can listen to music over USB audio, you have FM. When you're parked, you can also play games and watch movies on the screen. Throughout COVID, we found ourselves often eating takeout in the car, and we've really liked having YouTube available on the screen. We call it our little drive-in movie theater, and we will go to a place, pick up some food, sit in the car right outside and eat it. So we can have nice, fresh, hot food and we don't have to worry about other people. So what we have for entertainment is great, especially compared to most other cars. But I still wish that we could get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, or maybe even a Tesla App Store. I'd really like to see Tesla spend more of their time working on core features of the car, like navigation waypoints that we've been waiting years for, and let some of these other developers work on these entertainment options. Just do what Tesla can only do, and let these other guys work on the stuff that they can work on. As I was prepping this video, I thought it was pretty funny that it's taken me this long to get to the actual driving part of a car. But that just goes to show how much more these things are than just a car. It's really more like a smartphone on wheels. We have so many different features and functions now, more than just driving a car. Anyway, if you've ever driven a Tesla, you pretty much know what to expect here. They don't sell a slow car. So there's a good chance that no matter where you are, you're probably one of the fastest cars on the road. So that makes it kind of fun, but it's also just an easy car to drive around. I especially love the one-pedal driving aspect where I rarely ever have to touch the brake. You just kind of let off the accelerator and the car will regenerate to a stop and hold there. So it's really nice driving around town, especially in like stop and go traffic on the highway. And it's also really nice on like a curvy road. It's just a very fluid movement between accelerating and decelerating, and it's a really nice car for it. And sure, there are other cars that I might choose for specific things, but for just an all-around great car to drive every day, Tesla is just my favorite. And one aspect of that is autopilot. Basic autopilot is included with every Tesla, and that gives you the basic features of staying in your lane and following the car in front of you. And those two things alone do a lot to take a lot of load off of a driver. Of course, you need to pay attention and be ready to take over at all times, but you can kind of gauge when there's not really much going on around the car. You can take your hands off to rest for a few seconds or take a drink of water, and it just makes for a much more relaxed driving experience. Now, autopilot is certainly not perfect. There are things that it does better than me, and there are a lot of things that I do better than it. But there's no doubt in my mind that the two of us working together are a safer driver than either of us alone. For charging, we've mostly been charging at home with the included Tesla mobile connector and the optional NEMA 1450 adapter, so we can charge at 32 amps from a 40 amp socket. Being able to charge at home really is one of the most convenient features of an electric vehicle. We've actually only supercharged a few times in the Model Y so far, but Tesla has been rolling out more and more superchargers, and a lot of them are the 250 kilowatt V3 superchargers, and they are really nice. It's still not as convenient as a gas station for long trips, but it's really not bad. And a lot of these superchargers are located in nice locations that have, nice restrooms and restaurants and shopping. And it's really not that big of an inconvenience when you're in a place like that. So as long as I'm driving less than, say, 600 miles, I'm perfectly fine driving electric. And really, if I'm going to be going further than that, I'm probably going to fly. So electric really works for most of my needs. And that daily convenience of charging at home really outweighs that occasional inconvenience of charging on a road trip. But I still recommend that you get the largest battery pack for the longest range possible, so you can minimize that inconvenience as much as you can. But on that note, range is an area where I've been kind of disappointed with the Model Y. We're averaging about 290 watt hours per mile, so if you do the math on that, that's like 250 to 260 miles of range. And that's a good bit less than the 315 miles that it's rated. Now, some of that is due to the aftermarket wheels that I have. Tesla has said in the past with the Model 3 that those Aero wheels can add 10% extra range. So alright, let's bump the Model Y up to 270, maybe 280. That's still 10% less than what the rated range is. And you could also say, well, it depends on how you drive. Well, don't forget I have a Model 3. And I actually get better than the rated range in the Model 3. So, same driver, different vehicle. I think there is a difference in the vehicle. And it really comes down to, I believe, the testing that they're doing. See, when the Model 3 first came out, it was a lower range rating than what it is now. They've bumped that up over time with different software updates. A lot of those software updates didn't even really change anything about the car. Like, one of the recent ones took away the ability to set regen to low in the car. So why would you do that? The only reason is to bump up those efficiency numbers when they test it. So I feel like Tesla is getting further and further away from what the real world rating should be for their car. And they're just getting really good at getting good numbers on those tests. And I've seen quite a bit to that effect in the forums and online. So to wrap this thing up, would I still recommend a Model Y 6 months later? Well, like most things, that kind of depends. If you're in the market for an EV, you have convenient access to charging at home, this is a great option. It's really a kind of a one-size-fits-most that will meet a lot of people's needs. It can hold 5 people, there's a 7-passenger version coming soon, it can carry a lot of stuff, it's comfortable, it's fairly efficient, and it's a reasonable price for what all it can do. And as far as charging goes, it has access to the world's largest and, in most cases, fastest charging network with the superchargers. So It's a really compelling option in the electric vehicle space. But what if you don't have convenient charging at home? Or maybe your priorities are a top quality interior and reliability. Maybe this isn't the car for you. There are some other, like plug-in hybrid options that may be a good middle ground for now. Or maybe you just need to wait a few more years until that charging infrastructure catches up to your needs. But in any case, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more. Thanks for watching.